Your obligatory quick disclaimer. These are just my opinions. Other recruiters may have different opinions. Watching this video does not guarantee that you will receive a job offer. I always tell my candidates, you're the quarterback on the field. You make the call. Again, I can't guarantee you the job, but this video may help. Let's begin. A really good starting point for us is what is the difference between pharmaceutical sales and medical device sales? Pharmaceutical sales is basically selling drugs or medicine, things like birth control pills, antifungal creams, antibiotics, flu shots. Those are some examples of pharmaceuticals, their medicines, and drugs. Now, you differentiate that with medical device sales, which is selling tangible products, products that quite frequently can be used over and over again, something like a CAT scan machine, stethoscopes, hospital beds. Those are all medical devices, knee braces. Um, you have things like implants and something like a pacemaker. And then there are other medical devices that are disposable, things like surgeon masks and gloves. So the basic difference is one is a drug or medicine, and the other is a tangible product that can frequently be used over and over again. Chris, that sounds really cool. I'm interested. How do I become a medical device sales rep? How do I become a pharmaceutical sales rep? What are the requirements for the clients that you work with? I'm glad you asked. The 98 to 99% of the clients I work with require a 4-year degree. There are occasions where somebody who has a clinical background and a 2-year degree, either a CNA or when I'm working with dental sales positions, occasionally they'll look at a dental hygienist who has industry experience and a 2-year degree. Occasionally I can place those people. But the vast majority of clients I work with require a 4-year degree, so it's definitely worth pursuing. GPA, probably 5 to 10% of the clients I work with have a certain threshold of GPA they're looking for, either a 2.8 or a 3.0 as far as GPA goes. But probably 90% plus of the clients I work with, um, it's not a requirement. So if you have a great GPA, I would list it on your resume to make it easily accessible so that if we have jobs that require a certain GPA, it catches our eye. But if you don't have a great GPA, I'd leave it off, and you're still going to be eligible for the vast majority of jobs we work on. College leadership. There are a lot of hiring managers who believe a sales track record begins in college, and it begins with leadership. If you have been a member of SGA or a fraternity or sorority or any clubs and held leadership positions, put those on your resume. And if you're in college, consider joining some of these clubs and organizations and developing a leadership track record. Definitely worth pursuing. College jobs. A college job shows that you can balance your life, hard work, dedication. I love seeing college jobs on resumes, and so do hiring managers. So if you had college jobs and worked your way through college, list them on your resume, put in parentheses or tag them so that we know that they were college jobs and that you're not a job hopper. Uh, College jobs placed on a resume incorrectly can lead to a lot of confusion. It looks like you had a bunch of jobs. So again, college job, awesome. You want to display it on your resume, but you want to do so in a manner in which it's clear that it was a college job. If you were gifted enough athletically to play college sports, definitely list it on your resume. And if you're in college and you have those athletic gifts, you might want to play college sports because it shows hard work, dedication, and that you're coachable. So I was talking to a candidate the other day who played college golf, and I asked him, why is this not on your resume? It shows hard work, dedication, and in the case of golf, mental toughness. So definitely list those things on your resume. Military service, if you were in ROTC or you've served, put it on your resume. Again, same thing as athletics. It shows dedication, hard work, and being coachable. College internships. If you're in college, college internships are a way to combat the lack of experience to bridge that gap. You might want to think about a sales internship somewhere. Again, we want outside sales. We want going door to door, calling businesses. Um, you might want to join a biotech company or a medical device or pharmaceutical company. And whether you're assisting somebody in their sales department or working in any capacity, you're going to pick up on some of the industry language and jargon, which will help you. Science degree, same thing as GPA. Some clients require it. Some clients like to see it, but they're going to put you through their own training program and teach you about the product anyhow. So I'd say probably 5 to 10% of my clients look for someone with a science degree. The other 90% or so will consider somebody without a science degree. What's interesting is there's now a sales degree out there. It wasn't popular when I was in college, which was a long time ago, but I think a sales degree is worth looking at. Now, there are two typical pathways into medical and pharmaceutical sales once you graduate college. So, once you get the degree, the typical path is either business to business sales or clinical sales. With business to business sales, they're looking for somebody with 6 months to about 3 years experience. You want to have some awards and rankings on there that show that you can excel at sales. That's one pathway into medical and pharmaceutical sales. The other one is the clinical pathway. I'm going to go into a lot more detail into both of those on the next two slides, but those are the two main pathways in is business to business sales or clinical sales. Now, on some rare occasions, you can get a job in medical or pharmaceutical sales directly out of college. And I'm going to shoot another video specifically tailored towards that. I've probably placed a couple dozen people in that situation, but they always had things, some of the attributes we were talking about, either college sports or sales experience, like calling alumni and asking for money, other things like that that were on their resume, ticket sales for their university. So those are pathways in if you're going straight out of college. It's rare, but it does happen. So let's dig into the other two pathways that are more common. The most common path into medical device sales and pharmaceutical sales is B2B sales. What does B2B stand for? Business to business sales. Specifically, we want outside sales. Outside sales is going door to door and meeting with people in person. Inside sales is sitting in a call center somewhere and calling people. So with outside sales, you develop transferable skills for pharmaceutical sales and medical device sales. Because in pharmaceutical sales, you're going to be going from office to office or potentially into hospitals. And the same thing with medical devices. You're going to be going from office to office or into hospitals and meeting with doctors in person. So by meeting with local businesses in person and selling a product, you're developing transferable skills that can be leveraged by the medical and device and pharmaceutical sales companies out there. Choose a company that has a well-respected training program. You want a strong training program, and you want a company that has stack rankings and or percent to plan. The important thing is make sure your company is going to share those stack rankings and or percent to plan with you in writing. If you don't get it in writing, it becomes more difficult for you to make a switch. And there are many companies that are moving further and further away from sharing their stack rankings, and that makes it more difficult for someone interviewing to demonstrate success. Pro tip for you here, if you have a certain company you want to join, you can do some research on it. You can go onto social media, and frequently you can view the background of sales reps at that company. And if you find a certain companies that they're recruiting from, you can join, target that company as one of the companies you want to join to get your foot in the door with the your end goal being XYZ company. So again, pro tip, if you want to join XYZ company, take a look at the background of some of the successful employees at that firm and then find out what their background is and try to develop a similar background. As you might expect, I have a lot of candidates who come to me with a clinical background and they want to get into sales. And I've had a lot of success placing those with clinical backgrounds with medical and pharmaceutical sales companies. So typically what I find is that they already have great personalities. They have a great bedside manner. They're probably getting patients to comply with doctor's orders. They may even be moving product, be something like flu shots in the office or some other products that the doctors are asking them to promote. So in that case, you definitely want to share that in an interview. Typically with the clinical pathway, there's two ways to get in, as an ASR or associate sales rep or as a clinical educator. With an associate sales rep, you need to make sure it's the right fit for you. You may go in and assist one rep. You might go in and assist an entire team of 7 or 8 people. If you're assisting a team of 7 or 8 people, in that case, you may have a lot of travel. You might have 75% travel, which is probably four nights a week that you're not home. So make sure in the interview process that you determine what the expectations are as far as travel. The second thing is you want to find out um, what the opportunities are and the estimated time frame to promote into a full line rep. There are some companies where they will relocate an ASR if they're relocatable to anyone in any particular territory, and they can apply for those positions as they open. And then there's other ones where they want you to stay in the territory you're developing. So with an ASR position, make sure you understand the expectations as far as time frame to get promoted into a full line rep position. The other pitfall with ASR positions is that frequently you won't have your own numbers. And if you decide you want to switch companies and make a change, that could become problematic because you don't have your own numbers. One pro tip for you here is that if you do take on an ASR position, you may want to ask them for additional responsibilities and ask them if you can manage part of the territory and use those to develop your own numbers. So the clinical pathway is an awesome way to get into the industry. A lot of companies do a great job with their ASR program, but you want to get more details and dig into it as far as travel requirements, expectations as far as time frame goes to get promoted, and figure out if you're going to be able to develop your own numbers. Okay. So you're watching this video and you're either currently a business to business rep, getting ready to become a business to business rep, have a clinical job currently, or getting ready to enter the clinical industry. Or you're one of those rare unicorns, very, very rare unicorns who is going to earn a job straight out of college with a medical device or pharmaceutical sales company. Again, that's a rare, rare thing. I have had success doing that. I'm going to record another video discussing um, the case studies of those people I've had success with. Usually they had some of the attributes we talked about earlier. But let's say you're currently a business to business salesperson. The best resume you have is doing an awesome, awesome job for your current employer. That's true with clinical as well. There's an old saying, again, which is the best resume is doing an awesome job for your current employer. If you are a business to business salesperson right now, you've got to keep those numbers up. If that means you need to make 5 or 6 extra calls a day, you make those 5 or 6 extra calls a day. At a minimum, you need to be over 100% to plan. The goal is to win some President's Clubs, Rookie of the Year, and some awards that really catch the eye and pop out on the resume. But the at a minimum, you need to be over 100% to plan. And whatever it takes, that's what you do until you secure that medical or pharmaceutical sales job. As a rule of thumb, when you're switching careers, you want to stay in each position a minimum, again, a minimum of 3 years. I like to see people staying at least 5 years or more. If you're making switches between jobs less than 3 years, you're going to develop the reputation of a job hopper, and the feedback will be, we're worried about your job stability. I've seen people who've had five, six, seven jobs in a period of 10 years. The hiring manager is right to be concerned about that because for whatever reason, that person seems to switch careers frequently. And once they invest the money training that particular candidate, um, there's a real risk that that candidate will move to another position. Save all of your documentation. I can tell you story after story of people who've won multiple presidents clubs, had incredible rankings, and they save their documentation on their computer. It happens all the time. And here are the three things that happen. The computer crashes, the computer gets a virus, or the candidate doesn't realize that when they tell their current employer that they're leaving, the current employer will frequently take the computer right there out of their hands and say, okay, good luck. So make sure that you print out your documentation and or back it up. In my opinion, the best thing to do is print out hard copies and save them in a 3-inch binder with plastic sleeves so that you have them in a brag book. Don't burn bridges. Once you enter the medical and pharmaceutical sales industry, there's a lot of crossover. You're going to be meeting with some of the same doctors as your competitors. You're going to be talking to a lot of people. It's a small industry, and you want to keep your reputation stellar. Do your due diligence when making switches. If you're switching careers or switching companies, make sure it's a good fit so you don't end up in that situation where it looks like there's some instability on your resume. Finally, and I don't see this as much anymore, but back in years ago, there used to be a concept called pods, where you had multiple reps calling on the same doctors. They had teams that were could be as large as 6 people on the same team. And in a situation like that, where you're on a part of a team of 6 or more people, it's difficult to figure out who the rankings really belong to. Who is the person who's closing the deals? So if you join a pod, a company with a pod structure, it could be problematic if you're trying to demonstrate success in an interview. There are several different types of pharmaceutical sales reps, and there's several different types of medical device sales reps. I'll talk more in detail about medical device sales on the next slide. Most of the clients that I have that are pharmaceutical sales companies, their reps go from office to office, sharing literature and discussing current studies and white papers with doctors. There are some companies that will drop off samples, but their job basically is to educate doctors and keep them current with the disease states and to bring them up to speed with what their company provides as far as medicines go. A few different call points. Primary care reps call on family physicians' offices. Specialty reps will call on doctors that are specialists in a particular area. Examples would be like cardiologists, oncologists, gastroenterologists, OBGYNs. Buy and bill reps will sell a drug directly to a doctor to be distributed to patients. The doctor has to purchase the drug directly from the company and then basically distribute it through their practice. And if they don't distribute it, then they end up eating the cost. So buy and bill is a challenging, sophisticated sale. And then you have your hospital reps. And in the world of pharmaceuticals, that involves a lot of times it will involve formulary wins. And a formulary win is meeting with multiple committees, convincing those doctors on those committees to adopt your drug as the drug going to be used by the hospital system. So when I see formulary win on a resume, it's impressive. It tells me this person met with a lot of doctors, influenced them enough to get them to adopt their drug as the drug being used by the hospital. Again, it's an impressive feat. Yeah. Let's talk about the different types of medical device sales reps. And again, there's a lot more than I've listed here, but here are some basic terms for you to understand. And there will be crossover with some of the pharmaceutical call points. A capital sales rep is someone who sells large pieces of capital. Things like CAT scan machines, a lot of times still cost tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars, and it usually involves a long sales cycle. Sales cycle might take a couple of years, and a good year of selling capital equipment might be selling two or three pieces. Disposable reps are the polar opposite, but disposable reps are selling some sort of a device, whether it's gloves or masks or something where it's large volume. So you're looking for large volume from the sales rep. OR reps is exactly what it sounds like. The reps go in to the OR, they witness the case, and sometimes they're even involved with the case. And I'll give you a cautionary tale on this. Talked to a lady who was just a rock star, multiple presidents clubs, everything I was looking for. She checked every box and then some. And I called her with an OR position. I said, "Hey, are you interested?" And she goes, "Kris, I would love to do it. Only one issue." She had basically, this was her life dream. She wanted to be in the OR, but she had passed out 13 times in previous cases. Talk about persistence. She really, really wanted this. But eventually she found that the sight of blood just makes her pass out. So make sure that when you are interviewing, that you do a day in the life of or go for a ride along or something, and make sure you're comfortable with the call point and the disease state, because you don't want to take a job, get into the OR, and pass out when you see the blood and realize this isn't for me. Surgical reps, again, goes along with OR reps. And then DME reps sell something that lasts a long time with multiple uses. Knee braces, hospital beds, catheters, those are all DME sales. So consider the call point. It's very important that it's a good fit for your personality, and hopefully you understand a few more call points. Okay, a little bit of review. Primary care means family physicians' offices. So if you hear from me or another recruiter, primary care, it means family physicians' offices. Specialty means meeting with doctors in a particular field of medicine, experts in a particular field of medicine. So when you're talking about physicians' offices, typically those reps call on a certain number of physicians' offices a day. It could be 6 offices a day, 8 offices, 12 offices. And their goal is to educate the doctor. That could be through literature, could be through white papers, could be through dropping off samples. The goal is to get some time with the doctors and the nurses in that physician's office. Hospitals are different. Hospitals themselves are very complex to navigate. There are multiple departments in the hospital. You may call on one specific department, you may call on multiple departments. There's purchasing, there's C-level, the decision makers for the hospital, there's the OR. So when you interview, you're going to want to find out which particular departments you're calling on to make sure it's a good fit for you. All right, I hope you're enjoying the video so far. In a moment, I'm going to share additional resources for you, interview tips, resume tips, and a lot. But before I do that, I'm going to remind you of the favor I asked you, which is if you've learned anything from the video, please consider liking the video and please consider subscribing. I'm only going to produce a few of these videos over the course of the year, so you're not going to receive a bunch of notifications jamming up your YouTube box. Just to remind you, save all documentation, save it in a brag book, back it up. You don't want to lose that documentation. Perform, keep your numbers up no matter what it takes. Make sure you're over 100% to plan. If you have to outwork everybody, do it. Job stability. Make sure that you're staying in your positions for a minimum of 3 years. Again, I would prefer to see 5+. Avoid burning bridges and enjoy the ride. You are doing something useful. You're contributing to society. You're educating doctors. You're keeping them current, and you're helping to save patients. This video is a part of a series of videos I've recorded to assist people with their career searches. Go to kca-agtb.com. It's highlighted in yellow, kca-agtb.com. The other videos are there. There are videos about resume tips, interview tips, how to conduct a career search, and several other useful videos. I also post the job searches that I'm working on. So if you want to find out if there's a job I'm working on that's a good fit for your background, they're posted there. Also, in the description below, I'm going to post a link to my Instagram site and a link to LinkedIn. Those are both areas where I also post job searches that I'm working on. So I hope this video helps. I hope that you considered it like I do. I want to make this the gold standard. If there's things I can do to make it better, let me know in the comments below. But also, when you land that dream job, make a comment in the post below and let me know what you're doing and what you found the most helpful. Thanks for your time and go out there and win those President's Clubs and Rookie of the Years.